Most prestigious universities, the creation of some of the country's best-known socialist intellectuals, took something of a pasting today. It learned what an independent inquiry had to say about its decision to take money from Colonel Gaddafi's son only weeks after giving him a doctorate. The London School of Economics boasts of its 16 Nobel Prize winners, although there was never really much danger of the Libyan dictator's son joining them. In fact, there was some uncertainty about whether he was even entitled to his PhD. Peter Marshall reports.
The Gaddafi Foundation devotes itself to development and humanitarian work, especially in the social, economic, cultural and, most importantly, in the human rights field.
The human rights field under Gaddafi.
SAIF is committed to resolving contentious international and domestic issues through dialogue, debate and peaceful negotiations.
Dialogue and negotiations under Saif and his family.
I've come to know Saif as someone who looks to democracy, civil society and deep liberal values.
Professor David Held was a big fan of Saif Gaddafi. He was his mentor at the LSE, securing Libya's £1.5 million donation. All this perhaps makes him the personification of what Lord Woolf identifies in his report as the naivety of the LSE. Woolf identifies a chapter of failures. Saying the LSE allowed links with Libya to grow to such an extent that they became overwhelming, affecting judgments across the board. Although 3 departments refused to teach him on the grounds he wasn't up to it, a 4th, philosophy, accepted Saif. They believed what they wanted to believe, that Saif Gaddafi was a good guy representing hope. Indeed, he was charm itself addressing an LSE audience last year, his tongue a bane in cheek over his father's democracy.
In theory, Libya is the most democratic state in the world. because in theory.
And then, months later, back in Tripoli, there was Saif on TV threatening rivers of blood if the protest didn't stop. It's not as though they weren't warned. Lord Woolf notes that a professor here spoke of the very risky gamble of tying the LSE's reputation so closely to that of Saif Gaddafi. What if he turned out not to be a reformer after all? And so it came to pass. Lord Woolf says the London School of Economics now labours under a nickname. The learned lord judiciously calls it an antonym, the Libyan School of Economics. For students at the LSE, the Gaddafi affair can be regarded as an object lesson in ethics, governance and economics, a course they may not have signed up to, but are learning fast. At the student newspaper, they see money, the donation, as the root of the trouble.
The LSE has got somewhat of a culture of being an institution which drives for money, and I think this was just a product of furthering this in a desperate bid to try and up what we have.
The young Gaddafi was no genius. Woolf says he duped his supervisors by using the work of others. Another professor suggested Saif purchased his degree. The Libyan $1.5 million was pledged just weeks after he got his PhD. But the LSE's director bridles at claims of a link.
There is absolutely no evidence in the Woolf report or anywhere else that we sold a doctorate. I mean, deny that absolutely. I'm sure you're aware from the report that, in fact, we refused to take any money while he was a student, and that is a very, very strict policy.
He was, in some senses, the LSE's star student. And now Saif Gaddafi stands indicted for war crimes. His alma mater must wish they'd kept the doors locked.
Well, with us now is Lord Desai, one of Saif Gaddafi's PhD examiners at the LSE. Was he a talented student? He was. Talented in what?
Carlos the Jackal of the LSE student.
Did you know that his essays had actually been written by somebody else?
Not that, because I wasn't involved with his essays. I was only involved with his PhD. I examined his PhD.
Which also was written by someone else, wasn't it?
Well, he went through an oral examination for 2.5 hours with myself and a fellow examiner, from Southampton, and he did all right. We were able to question him, and he answered our questions. Then he asked me to do some more work because we were not happy with the thesis as it was, and it is submitted.
Are you sure he actually wrote the bit that he then submitted to you?
Well, you know, you can't be subjected to a rigorous oral examination unless you have on top of what you've written.
And what do you think about the fact that while he was rewriting it, he was actually asked for a large dollop of cash for the LSE?
I was not aware of it until I read the Wolf report.
Right.
You know, we were as an examiner, I was absolutely following the rules,
Right.
and that's straightforward.
In your judgment, he was entitled to his PhD?
In my judgment, he was entitled, or I would not have signed that form.
Fine. And there's no shadow of doubt in your mind that he might have been admitted to the LSE because he was the son of a filthy rich dictator?
No, actually, originally there was a debate that he should not be admitted because you're son of a filthy rich dictator. And I would take the view that when you admit somebody, you don't look at who their father or mother is.
But this is enormously damaging for the LSE, isn't it?
It has proved to be a great mistake, a huge damage to the brand. And as the Wolf report shows, it was when confronted with power and money, we let our standards go.
Why doesn't the LSE withdraw his PhD at least?
No, it is not. The University of London gives a PhD, and it is not up to the LSE to withdraw PhD after it has been given, just because LSE did not do due diligence on receiving his money.
You think he's entitled to his doctorate?
Absolutely.
Lord Desai, thank you. Well, that's quite enough excitement for one night. Good night.